Yeah, hidden beam is one of those aspects of construction that causes a whole lot of controversy. Some people will tell you there's nothing like hidden beam. Some will tell you there's something like hidden beam. So today we're going to look at what is this hidden beam and how it tends to affect your slab construction. Because definitely when you're constructing a slab, you tend to use your beams, which tend to support the weight of the slab. You are transferring that weight to the beam, then from the weight of the slab to the beam, then from the beam to the column. So we all know all this, but there's this hidden beam that sometimes is internal. The thickness of the beam is the thickness of the slab. Sometimes it's within the slab, and you won't even take note of such beams in slabs. So we want to understand how does these beams operate, and what is actually a hidden beam in slab. So hidden beams are beams built within the thickness of the slab. So it carries the thickness of the slab, not below it. They provide structural strength and stability while keeping the ceiling flat and smooth. They are important in modern buildings where aesthetics and space optimization are a priority. So it is a kind of a beam that is within the slab. It takes the thickness of the slab, and it helps keep the surface of the slab flat and smooth. So we have key reasons why these hidden slabs hidden beams are tend to be used. What are the reasons why we make use of hidden beam? So the first reason here is aesthetic appeal. So provides a flat surface ceiling for a clean and attractive interior finish. So sometimes instead of a drop beam, drop beam are beams that you are visible, you see them in structures. But instead of having such a drop beam, you can improvise and actually go for a flat slab, flat beam rather, or a flat hidden beam. So hidden beam tends to give that aesthetic appeal, tends to still give the normal support it should give to the slab, but gives a more hidden, smooth and flat slab surface that you desire. Then the second point is maximizes headroom. The headroom of a building is between your beam and your slab, right? So if you don't want your headroom to be clumsy, you don't want your headroom to be seeing all these drop beams across your headroom, so it helps you actually achieve that. So with hidden beam, you tend to maximize the headroom. So increases usability, vertical space without dropping beams below the slab. So there is no drop beams. So all you just have is a smooth surface, right? And the next point we are looking at is structural efficiency. So it effectively resists bending and shear forces within the slab thickness. So the bending forces, the shear forces, within the slab thickness. So it helps to suppress and resist, all those forces. So these are still part of the reasons that you use your hidden beam: for aesthetic appeal, for maximizing your headroom, and for structural efficiency, which we consider the bending forces, the shear forces within the slab thickness. So we are taking a look at the cost effectiveness of hidden beam. So it reduces formwork and construction costs compared to the conventional beams. So in your conventional beams, you still need to make provision for your formwork. You buy your wood, you make provision for the formwork. You're going to pay your labor, your carpenter that is coming to erect the formwork for you for your drop beams. But for your hidden beams, it's still the same formwork you use for your slab that you are going to use for your hidden beam. The only thing is maybe additional reinforcement, for the direction of the beam. But aside that, no other cost, no other formwork provision, no provision for wood, nails, and all those things. So it's cost effective. Then the other point we are looking at too is better durability. So hidden beams tends to actually give that durability to your slab, right? Because sometimes if you have a two-way slab, and in a two-way slab you have that span, a long span slab, so and you are kind of skeptical if your beam support is going to hold the weight of the slab. But with your hidden beam, you can just create that reinforcement part, and that tends to actually make that slab more durable, and you won't be scared of any collapse and all those things. So enhances structural integrity and durability with proper design and detailing. So it helps to give a better structural integrity, enhances the structural integrity of the building, and also increases the durability of the building, and helps to give proper design and detailing of such slab. So we'll be looking at the uses of hidden beam in construction. So what are the areas, where are the areas that we tend to apply these hidden beams? So the first area of application is residential apartments and flats. So we use hidden beam in residential apartments and flats. Then we also use hidden beam in commercial and office building. Then hotels and hospitality structure. In big hotels, hospitality structures, you tend to make use of your hidden beam. Then parking structures and basement. So for parking structures and basement, whereby you need more space to actually park your vehicle, you need to consider the headroom of the said area. So you actually make use of your hidden beam. Then for schools, hospitals, and public buildings, you also tend to make use of your hidden beams. Then renovation and retrofitting projects. So all these kind of projects, you tend to make use of your hidden beam. Then spaces requires flat ceiling and aesthetics, so it helps even to give the aesthetics that is required for your building. So typical hidden beam slab structure. So from this picture you can actually see the hidden beam, how it looks like. So this is a slab structure, and you can see the reinforcement for the hidden beam inside, that is within the slab structure. So the top slab reinforcement is what we have here, which is the distribution steel. Then we have the concrete slab, which is the structural top layer. Then we have the hidden beam zone. So this is the zone where you have your hidden beam, which is within the slab depth, right? Then we have beam reinforcement, which is our main steel bar, right? Then we have the slab reinforcement. Then we have the supporting column. So this supporting column is what actually holds to transfer all the weight coming from the slab, the weight coming from the beam, then transferring it down to the foundation. So hidden beam is very, very essential in construction, because it helps to improvise in actually hiding your drop beams. Instead of making use of drop beams, you tend to just use your hidden beam, and you get that done with.